Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. I'm working on some fighting words. Before we go any further, I need for you to like this video and also subscribe to the channel. So in this video, I want to do a quick recap on what happened over the weekend with Terence Crawford and his win over Shawn Porter. And as always, I'm just going to jump right into it. So, one, I just want to say Terence Crawford had what I consider a masterful fight. Now, he didn't consider it to be the best fight in the world. Listen to his post-press conference, interview. He didn't really consider it to be his best. He even said, the Jeff Horn fight was even a better fight. And I agree. He completely and 100% from A to Z had his way with Jeff Horn. He didn't have his way with Shawn Porter in every round, but for the most part, I feel like Shawn just had nothing for him. Terence Crawford, the first thing I noticed when the fight started was how calm and relaxed he was. He was very relaxed. He was very calm. And once the fight got going, he was smiling, he was talking. And I'm like, this dude is already in the zone. And like I said, if you look at my fight breakdown for this fight, I said Porter has realistically 3 rounds to do solid damage, because by that 3rd round, Crawford would have already computed what he needed to compute in order to really do his thing with Porter. And you know what? He computed it a little quicker than I thought. But I also said in that breakdown, because of Porter's pace, Crawford was going to have to compute it a lot quicker, because Porter was going to come out like a raging bull, and that's exactly what he did. And Terence Crawford did a lot of amazing things in this fight. I don't fully know if people just saw some of the things he was doing. For starters, you're fighting Shawn Porter. He's very aggressive. He's very physical. It reminds you of like an alley fight more than a boxing match when he gets going, especially if he has you cornered. So, right off the bat, Terence Crawford wanted to let Shawn Porter know, okay, you're aggressive, but I know how to handle your aggression. And he manhandled him. And you don't see a whole lot of this today. You see a little bit more of it with heavyweights, but you really don't see a whole lot of it. People get smaller, especially like welterweights and, just the little guys. You don't see a whole lot of it. Where basically, just because you have a glove doesn't mean you can't wrestle. Okay, most of the people think it's just like arm positioning and you can just tie up hands. And if you look, what Crawford was doing, he was opening the palm of his hand and he was gripping Porter, and then he wrestled him off. And again, he was showing him, you're not gonna do your little Shawn Porter thing and just go crazy and ballistic, and you're not doing me like that. You did it with Spence, you do it with everybody else, but you will not be doing it with me. And he let him know that very early. And that was a very important thing to let Shawn Porter know. I'm bigger than you. And guess what? I'm also stronger than you. So don't think you're just going to come in here and kind of big brother me all night, because it's not going to happen. Second thing he did, which was great, fighting somebody like Shawn Porter, somebody who's aggressive. Keep the distance. That's what I've said in the fight breakdown. Terence Crawford's going to have to keep that distance. Terence Crawford is a sniper. Terence Crawford needs room to operate, but he also needs room to think. And, I guess we're going to get into Shawn. I think I'm just going to make a side video for Shawn Porter, and because I think there was some emotional, mental stuff going on with him. But the space was there. The space was there for Terence to operate. And what did I say? If you look back at the fight breakdown, I said, sure enough, that check hook is going to come into play. And he was just popping it off. And Shawn would continuously just run into it. Then he got comfortable with the uppercut. He didn't use it as much as I wish he would have liked, because he actually, like the few times that he did use it, Terence Crawford, he actually had success with it. Shout out to Shawn Porter. He got a few uppercuts in as well. And I was surprised that Terence Crawford didn't jab as much as he could. He didn't jab that much. And it was weird because Shawn Porter he was keeping his distance. And you would think it's a perfect time to jab. just for Terence Crawford, to give him time to think, what do I want to do next? Terence Crawford hit him with pretty much every punch you could think of. He's turning him over, he's twisting him around, he's maneuvering him, and he's doing all these things. Like he's doing some amazing things. His footwork was amazing. Shawn Porter has this way of he'll stay planted someplace, and then he'll twist off to the side, and then now he's on the outside, and you're on the inside, and he's actually really good at it. He has really fast feet, and that's something that I've seen multiple times with him and his trainer, Father Kenny Porter. They have trained and drilled relentlessly, and it works. It works. It works. It works. Every time Shawn does that switch, he can always get out. He can always get out. Basically, what he'll do is he'll back up a little bit. He'll ease into a corner, and as you come into the corner, he'll switch off. Now you're the one in the corner, and he can go Showtime on you. And it works. However, it didn't work with Terence Crawford. It worked with Errol Spence. It actually worked a lot. If you go back to the Errol Spence fight, you'll see it worked a lot with Errol Spence. It wasn't until like the last round that Earl was like, nah, you're not doing that to me anymore. But like it worked it literally worked the entire fight. Not with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford was not having that. Every time he would do the switch, so he plants his hope you can see, but he's planting his legs like this, so it looks like he's going to run out this way. But what he's going to do is run around, and now you're in the corner. And he tried it with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford was like, no, like, not gonna work, bro. I'm not new to this, all right? And I do my homework, but I'm definitely not new to this. And he tried it. He only got Terence Crawford in the corner once. And however, when he got him in the corner, he didn't do anything with it because Terence Crawford was already out the back door. He was like, you're not getting me like that. That's not gonna happen. It's a nice little move, but it's just not gonna happen with me. And with Shawn Porter, that is one of his bread and butter moves. It is. He kind of telegraphs a lot of his punches. So, when, the writing was on the wall early. I'll say that for Shawn Porter. The writing was on the wall early. He definitely had moments and spots throughout the entire fight. I don't ever want to say, like, he just got the crap beat out of him from A to Z. No. I mean, this was the closest that I've ever seen Shawn Porter get beat up. Like not lose a round, but get beat up. And if this is Shawn Porter getting beat up, I don't know. I don't know about the whole retirement thing. I mean, he could just simply be, emotional that he lost. He could be emotional. You know what? This might be the last time I get a title shot. It could be that as well. Because he's going to have to crawl his way back up. I mean, but who's he going to fight? You're not getting Errol Spence fight again. You're darn sure not going to fight Ugas again. I doubt that Ugas would be like, oh, I'll fight you. No, Ugas is not going to fight you. Who else is he going to fight? Just fought Terence Crawford, had the worst fight of his career, which, again, gave a great performance, and he really did fight his butt off. He didn't fight to the full Shawn Porter Showtime experience, as he's done in the past. But you can see a lot of maturity in this fight with Shawn Porter. In my personal opinion, I felt like Shawn Porter was way too patient. I think he was way too patient, and I think while he was being patient, he was giving way too much distance. Those are two things that I was just like, what are you doing? You got a guy with longer arms who's completely in his groove. Like, the dude's having a full-on conversation. He smiled half of the fight. I mean, he was smiling when Shawn Porter would get like a good hit on him. And I don't know. I felt like the instruction in the corner wasn't the best. Like, I remember at one point, Kenny Porter, is Shawn Porter's father and trainer. He says, use the overhand right. It's Shawn Porter. That's all he ever uses, is the overhand right. What are you talking about? No, don't use the overhand right. Use something else, but do not use the overhand right. And please stop with that very telegraphed jab that you have. Okay, try something else. Go to the body. Do something else. Speaking of the body, great body work from Terence Crawford. He went to the body early, and I don't know how much of an effect that had on Shawn Porter, but he hurt him with some body shots, especially later on in the fight. And again, Terence Crawford really didn't stick with he didn't stick with anything too long. It was like maybe 2 rounds of this, 2 rounds of this, 2 rounds of this. And I felt like Shawn Porter was trying to do the same thing. If you listen to the commentators, they're like, "Oh, Shawn Porter's mixing it up." I'm like, "No, he isn't. He's beating Shawn Porter right now. What are you talking about?" But I felt like in their eyes, Shawn Porter being patient and trying to set traps was Shawn Porter mixing it up. And if that's what they mean to them, well, fair play to them. And maybe Shawn Porter was mixing it up. I felt like that was more frustration out of Shawn Porter. Like he just didn't know what to do. I mean, Terence Crawford is hitting him with like this punch and that punch. He's going to the body. He's going to the head. He's hooking off. He's uppercut. He's smiling and he's talking. Like so. There's not a whole lot you can do. And I think at that point, sometimes when you just got a guy who's in his groove, and believe me, when you're in there, I can personally tell you, I've been in the ring with guys, and it was clear they were in their groove. It was clear they were gonna have their way, because they're just like they're happy, they're completely in the moment. They're completely aware of what's going on around them, and you could see Terence Crawford was completely in his element, 150% in his element, and it showed. It showed. That I have to talk about one particular move. So again, a lot of things you saw Terence Crawford do in this fight, you don't see many people do it. You don't see many people do it. Again, you might see a heavyweight do it. Tyson Fury is skilled enough to do it, but you don't see a whole lot of people today's fighter do it. You see a lot of this in like Joe Louis and all those guys. Shawn Porter comes in and Terence Crawford hooks him around the back of the head and throws him in the corner. And I'm just like, dude, you are doing way too much. I know Errol Spence was in attendance, and I know if I was Errol Spence or if I was in Team Spence's camp, I'd be like, dude, we should just leave right now and go running or something. This dude is doing too much. He's doing way too much. Threw him in the corner, didn't even take advantage of it. And in fact, threw him in the corner, took a step back, and laughed. And ended the round like that. He could have done something. He more than had an opportunity to do something else to Shawn Porter. But again, it was a psychological thing. I'm going to have my way. You are not going to have your way. I am the stronger of the two of us. I am the bigger of the two of us, and you will feel my strength throughout this fight, and it's not going to be the other way around. I'm going to be the El Matador, and you're going to be the bull, but I'm actually stronger than you. And the skill level wasn't even close. I'm sorry. The footwork of Terence Crawford. I mean, that wide stance. He even got really low. I mean, he was doing a lot. He was doing, like, if you're just somebody who's into skills, not just I just want to see a knockout, and you want to see skill. You want to see foot positioning. He was doing so much. Like, he was doing so much. And you could see it in Shawn. He was just getting frustrated. And it was just like, okay, fine. I'm just going to run in and I'm going to do something. Because what else can you do? And it was funny. So Kenny Porter, Shawn Porter's dad and trainer, he tells Shawn while they're in the corner, don't get sloppy and just let your hands go. I'm like, dude, we're like late in this fight. Forget that. Number one, you have not been winning rounds. And number two, you need to make something happen. That dude is over there having the time of his life when he comes out. You need to make something happen. You need to try to hit him with a hard punch, let him know I still got my pop. But by the end of in later rounds, Shawn lost his pop. So it was just like, like if you look at the fight, you can clearly see his punches didn't have the same amount of pop as they had earlier. And it was just a bad night for him. Terence Crawford, honestly, two thumbs up. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I'm about to say this. I always been on the fence, and I always felt like Errol Spence could manhandle Terence Crawford. I don't think Errol Spence has more skills than Terence Crawford, but I always felt like he was bigger and could fall back on being able to manhandle Terence Crawford. After this fight, I'm sorry, I don't even believe you can do that with Terence Crawford. I really don't. I really don't. I think the only thing now that I would possibly give Errol Spence over Terence Crawford is cardio. And I'm banking that on the fight that Errol Spence had with Mikey Garcia. He's throwing like a quadrillion punches every round. You know, that's the only thing that but you know what? The way Terence Crawford fights, when you're that sharp, you don't need to throw a quadrillion punches. You honestly don't. You don't need to throw a quadrillion because when you're that sharp, every punch matters and every punch counts. But if not every punch is accurate and every punch isn't hitting the button, then yeah, you need to throw X amount of punches every round so that if I throw 50 punches, at least 25 are going to get through, or 15, 20 are going to get through. But if you're as good a sharpshooter as Terence Crawford, you can be like, yo, I'll throw 30 punches around. And 30, 25 are getting through. 20 are getting through. Same difference. You're both still hitting, the same amount. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Welterweight division, Terence Crawford is the man. Is the man. Is the man. Nobody else has ever done that to Shawn Porter. Nobody. Nobody's come close to that. If it weren't for the knockdown with Spence over Shawn Porter, in my personal opinion, Shawn Porter would have won that fight against Errol Spence. Say what you want, say what you want, say what you want. And what did I say in the fight breakdown with Shawn Porter? Patience and learning how to tie people up. When he gets knocked down the first time, first thing he does, he goes to the Porter way. What's the Porter way? Get back in the mix. And no, circle, dance, do whatever you got to do, but get through the round. Tie the dude up. Nope. Shawn wants to throw hands some more. And he gets dropped again. And that's when, when he's pounding the ground, I'm like, bro, so I saw an emotional breakdown, frustration of, I can't beat this guy. I don't think it was like, I'm mad at myself because I just did something stupid and I got put down. Now, it could be a little bit of that, but I also think it was, I can't beat this guy. And it's frustrating me. I can't beat this guy. And I don't want to end on that note. Terence Crawford is the man. Shout out to Shawn Porter. You really did do your thing, and you really did fight your heart out. Like I said, I'll make a side video about that, especially concerning Shawn Porter's dad. I wasn't too enthused about what he said after the fight. But those are my thoughts. I know this was a long video, and I apologize, but those are my thoughts. Please drop them down below. And as always, like and subscribe.